Hi, everybody, and welcome to the introduction of our beautiful Supervisory Council candidates in the first session today on Thursday, the 5th of October at 4 p.m. UTC. I'm so glad to see so many great submissions for candidacy among our Supervisory Council members. I have to say that the quality of the submissions was extremely high. So thank you all for putting such comprehensive bios and answering all of the questions on SWAY. Today we have a very exciting format. We will give all of the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves. And after that, you, the community, will have the opportunity to ask any questions, any burning questions that you have for each of the candidates. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first candidate, Juana, who is currently serving as the product lead at Fortrek. Juana, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. First, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be here. Quick introduction, I'm Juana. I was Palestinian Jordanian. I was born and raised in Amman, Jordan, and studied management engineering at the University of Waterloo. I've been heavily invested in this space for around 4 years now. Decentralized governance is actually what really got me into the space and committed to the space. Over the past 2 years, I've co-founded a company called Flus. We're working on a solution for instant settlements and payments for the Middle East, North Africa region, specifically Lebanon. Through that, we've also fostered a community of over 20,000 people. I've also been very involved in the Cardano network. So I also helped co-found the Cardano Middle East, North Africa community. I have a stake pool. So through my work, I very much focus on bringing this technology and the opportunities back to the Middle East, North Africa region. I've also been this year specifically contributing to the decentralized governance framework for Cardano. And I've been really involved in a lot of different decentralized communities, more specifically over the past year with the Singularity Net community, where my team and I at Fortrek were contributing to building the community contribution and engagement score tool specifically for deep funding. And then on the side, I also help a lot with community building and fostering decentralized communities and creating spaces to encourage community members and opportunities for people from different parts of the world to be involved. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Managed to do this in less than 3 minutes, but it's good.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Joanna. I have a question, if that's okay, to kick off. I would very much like to know what is the most important thing that you've learned about decentralization so far?
At the top of my head, from my experience, decentralization, as much as we want to say, oh, we want things to be decentralized, we forget how many layers actually have to be decentralized. So even if we're building community opportunities and people to get involved in some sort of contribution and decision making, we forget that, you know, we need the tooling and the infrastructure in the background that also has to be decentralized. So from my learnings is, for something to truly be decentralized, we need to also work from the ground up and see where like all these different parts and applications come together, from a tooling application perspective, architecture, community, but in a overall, I think it's being able to get as much input and contribution in a sustainable manner from diverse perspectives.
Thank you. One of the questions that I really liked from ChatGPT, we've generated some questions from ChatGPT. I hope that's okay.
A little intimidating, but sure.
You can always, if you don't like it, you can always go time out. I don't want to do this. I had to edit them down a lot. They were really challenging, actually. But no, I just wanted to know. You were talking in your candidacy submission about a shift from competition to collaboration in the AI space. And I really love this idea because, as we know, the crypto space and blockchain can be really competitive and really fast paced. So I would I would love to know how you would go fostering that kind of environment at SingularityNet.
I think first, SingularityNet is doing a really good job in enabling diverse inputs from different people to be able to build their own narrow AI services and models and be able to contribute in a sense that makes sense to them. I think we've never seen this in AI. Usually the resources are very pooled and centralized by certain entities. So we haven't been able to collaborate and contribute from different sources. I think in SingularityNet also, what I really like is, and this is relevant to the work that we're doing with capturing community engagement and contribution. And I think through that, if we're able to sustainably capture it and reward contribution, I think that could be a very healthy incentivized mechanism for people to feel like they are not only able to contribute, but are actually encouraged to contribute. So if we were to do this, I think iteratively and properly, like we have been slowly, I think this is a first step into being able to foster this collaboration environment in Singularity.
Great, thank you very much. I have one further question, just unless there are any more appearing in the chat, but I would also very much like to know, you're ideally positioned because of your experiences in the African regions, that you're ideally positioned to talk about inclusion, and you have this experience that enables you to speak about the kind of challenges that are happening in this area. So how can AI be made more accessible and beneficial for communities in all parts of the world, and not just the countries who are most established in the crypto space and in the most developed economies?
I think this question is, we kind of forget that even to get to that level, we really need to provide access. And then through access, we think, okay, we need connectivity, but then beyond that, we just need education. And I think starting at like being able to educate those parts of the world on initiatives like Singularity, where you have the opportunity to build something and put it forward, is like a very first step. But I think also, I think it's just this concept of like awareness at first, and building communities around this concept, and then organically growing that idea, because it is very new. It is very, it is also like very first world. So just being able to create those opportunities and the ability for people to be able to, get access to educational resources, be able to build their own, services and contribute in that manner.
Thank you very much for your insights, Juana. I'm really looking forward to talking more about this with you.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we have to move on now to our next candidate. Thanks again, Juana. And I'd like to welcome Mars to the center stage. Hi, Mars.
Hi, hello. I'm glad to be here. I'll try to share my screen. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes, we can.
That's excellent. So let's do it. I believe this is a very important moment in the history of the humanity, because AI is on the exponential curve, and what happens in the next 6 months will be nothing short of revolutionary. I am originally from Krakow in Poland. I have a degree in computer science from a pretty good university. I've been working in technology for the past more than 10 years. I am top 3% on Stack Overflow. And actually, next couple of slides will be a variety of my accomplishments. This is me participating in the DAO 2016. I knew that it's not going to work. I managed to withdraw the funds just before the hack. This is a certification from EXO, Exponential Organizations, which is a network of consultants specializing in exponential technologies, not just AI, not just blockchain, but VR, drones, materials, biotech, and helping businesses adapt to fast-changing environment. Another accomplishment is University of Heroes and Team Draper. And the purpose of it is to show you that I am a versatile candidate that has loads of experience from different walks in life. If you are watching this on a live stream, scan the QR code because this is my best writing. It ran through many rounds of feedback with real people, with AI models, with ChatGPT, Bard, Claude, some private AI models, because, hey, we need to align the AI. And I think that this is seriously something good. So I encourage you, you cannot click on a long link, scan the QR code, visit it later on. And if I get elected, if I'm part of the core team, oops, I'm sorry, I've missed one slide. This is yet another thing about my DAO experience. This is about participating in the DAOs even before it was cool. And yeah, if I get elected, this is the task number one. Task number one is building an organizational chart, because there will be many contributors, many partners, many, members of the community. And there was a post on the forum with a variety of Telegram groups. And yeah, if we want to truly be decentralized, it should be easy to know which team, which group, which contact channel is the best. And yeah, in terms of me, a mix of abilities. It's not just AI, not just blockchain, but seeing the bigger picture and how everything is connected. You can, of course, read more about my profile on this wire, on the proposal platform. And I would say that I will ensure that there is no conflict of interest, because I will fight for the best interest of humanity, best interest of the AI, best interest of SingularityNet. And if there is any situation when these things are conflicting, when there is a conflict interest here, that's not okay. It means that it's red flag, warning button. We need to do something different. And yeah, that is the last slide. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was extremely thorough. I would very much like to know, and ChatGPT also would very much like to know, given your history with the DAO and other DAOs, the DAO and other DAOs, what have you learned from those experiences that you would apply to our decentralization process?
Couple of things. One of them is the evolution of tooling. This is something that I've observed, that tooling is getting better, that new joiners into the DAO, they are already familiar with blockchain and Web3 and MetaMask and backup phrases. So I would say public awareness and baseline level is getting better. I also, the lesson from all these experiences, that the DAO is not the silver bullet that cures cancer and reverse climate change, that it is a tool, a set of practices, but it's not the ultimate answer. And how I would apply this experience and knowledge, ultimately it is all about balance. And honestly, I also appreciate leadership with vision. I like when there is a North Star, the direction of travel. And what I like, then there is this custodians, for example, Supervisory Council, who is ensuring that everyone in the DAO is following this North Star objective, which in this case is beneficial AI.
That's very interesting, and I have a follow-up question based on that. So you were talking about leadership within the decentralized process. So how do you see the tensions between leadership and decentralization, or the relationship between those two things?
I've observed, again, it is based on the experience, that in order for DAOs to operate in a competitive environment, when timing matters, I like the idea when there is a leader who is elected for the period of couple of months, who has a mandate to make decisions that are obviously public, transparent, with diverse input. But yeah, this is again based on the experience, competitive business environment, running every single decision, such as what to post on Twitter. No, you don't run a full on-chain vote. There is a marketing, communication, public relations team who has this authority to make decisions within this area. And I would say that people, we are still, our brains, and we didn't upgrade in 10,000 years. We are still following the leaders. And I think there is a place for leadership within the DAO, for people who are championing the vision and keep community forward, moving forward, who are, yes, championing the vision.
Thank you. One question from the chat quickly. If you're elected, are we electing you to repeat what has been achieved in other DAOs? Do you think your experience might limit your ability to bring innovation, as SingularityNet is quite unique?
Look, there is no such thing as bad experience, and I see diversity as competitive advantage. We have people from all over the world, and I think that, yeah, we will find a way. No such thing as bad experience, diversity as competitive advantage, and we will find a way. Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. I'm so glad that you were able to come and answer our questions. I'm afraid we have to move on now to Philip. Happily and sadly and happily moving on to Philip. We can't hear you, Philip, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you. I apologize for the darkness around me, but I assure you there's light inside. And what I'm really, really interested in is all these fantastic people. I wish that every person can be on this council. I know it's impossible in the current setup, but that's what I would wish, because I'm listening to Joanna and I'm listening to Mars, and I'm seeing that this is what I want to bring to the council. First of all, about experience. I have been in the blockchain space since 2013, working with people like Vitalik and CZ and all these people who, we now today in 2023, we are making decisions based on those pioneers. So if I can bring anything, and maybe I'm not a technical, expert, as so many people here are, but I do have the connections and the narrative, the storytelling that has been going on since the very, very beginnings of crypto. Because remember, crypto is basically a story. And what we need to do is bring SingularityNet, which has an enormous advantage in the marketplace, because it is essentially the first, with David's work and Ben's work. It's amongst the very, very first AI efforts that are public. So with Sophia and so on, I have, we were going to bring Sophia with us up Everest, believe it or not, back in 2017, for when we brought the SDG banner up to the top, to the smaller banner up to the top. Anyway, what I want to point out, and also just at one point about what Mars brought up about the DAO. I was also involved in the 2016 DAO, and Vitalik told me to take my money, my ether out, right, and to invest it later when things were going wrong before the fork. So this is an experience. I don't say I'm technically strong, but this is the experience of being in this market for so long, that what I hope all these people that are going to be applying we can work together essentially to bring what is this critical aspect. You brought it up about decentralization. It's impossible to decentralize immediately. It doesn't work. It has to start from us. And we have to build this, not perfect, but this very inclusive environment, this very inclusive story. For instance, the Sophia verse and so on. But these kind of things are incredibly critical. Oh, I lost my light. So you can't see me anymore. I'm on the road, by the way. So it's pretty hard to, oh, there we go. Got it back. Oh, lost it. Okay, so please.
3 minutes is past.
Yes, okay, thank you. So background is extensive. My desire, I've been involved in this, I was an ambassador for Singularity Net very early on as Sustain Clause, the Sustainable Santa with LCP, Low Carbon Panda and so on. All of that has been recorded. It's in my bio. And most importantly, I think it's a passion. I've been in this 24/7 for over 10 years. So let's all work together. I hope to make the council, but if I don't, I'm in full support of certainly the people I've heard so far. Okay, so I've got, yes, go ahead. So questions, please.
I would very much like to know, so there are known challenges associated with decentralization, and one of them is the psychological one, and you've mentioned this one already yourself in your submission. So given the goal to fully decentralize AI and the problem of the process of letting go, how do you envision overcoming the practical and psychological hurdles that often come with decentralization?
Okay, well, clearly the fundamental point about decentralization is community. It's a fundamental thing. I mean, there's no decentralization to whom? We have to decentralize to a community, and the community has to be attracted. It's not, you know, one of the challenges, of course, over these years has been crypto and blockchain has moved much more toward the financial side, the DeFi and so on. And what it really should be is about people's power individually and expressing that power, expressing that vote, right? That's why the DAO didn't work, you know, the initial one, and so on. So, and that's why it's very, very challenging for future DAOs to work. The answer to your question is incredibly complex. This is what we'll spend a whole lot of time in meetings in trying to determine. But my answer to it is that it's the development of the story that engages the massive population. We're not talking about crypto bros here. We're talking about the population of the earth. We have to get many, many millions of people involved in AI, the benevolent AI. And you can probably see from my work so far, it's all about not beneficial AI, it's about benevolent AI. And that's what people, individuals want.
Shall we move swiftly on?
Yes, please.
And talk about the human and AI relationship. You mentioned the importance of the human relationship with artificial intelligence, and the opportunity that is in coaching the human user to be a better trainer of AI. I was wondering whether you could tell us more about that.
Right. Well, that's absolutely fundamental and critical. We know what the problems are with OpenAI and the expansion and the centralization of AI. We know that's an enormous problem, and it's being used to program us. So we have to flip that. We have to program AI. We need to, with what I call, chat SDG, we have to start to operate on the critical goals that we're dealing with in the world, the SDGs, not the finance of the United States or the UK. That's not even relevant. What's relevant with AI is how AI is going to assist humanity in solving the absolute problems that we have. That's what it's going to, and because we can't do it ourselves. We're 7 years into the SDGs and we've gone nowhere, almost 15%. So we have to, we have to build our community to people who will be chatting with the SDGs in such a way that they are chatting with the SDG in such a way that they are developing the relationship between AI, that AI cares about humanity, cares about the continuation of the human species, And that's the power of AI. Because if we leave it to the military-industrial complex AI, of course, it will go the way of the military-industrial complex. So our efforts must be concentrated on benevolence. And what Ben has been talking about since I met him, however many years ago, so long ago.
That's great. Thank you so much, Philip. Xhoni, you're up next. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Is my voice clear for everyone?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everyone for this opportunity. I'm very grateful to be among such a community of experts and people who care about the future developments of AI and the world. My name is Xhoni Shollaj, and I have a mixed background from Greece and Albania. Currently, I am a research engineer at the National University of Singapore. Here, I teach classes on smart contracts and blockchain development at the Business Analytics Center, but at the same time, I do research on natural language processing, machine learning, and large language models. My expertise and my research has been mainly how we combine machine learning with the blockchain development. Before that, I've had many years of experience in data analytics and data science across many countries and different continents. And currently, I'm also a community builder and also part of the AI ML scholarship, where I help teach and help kids in underdeveloped communities learn more about machine learning and AI and how they can build a career for the betterment of the society in order to apply their skills where they are valuable. Currently, my research domain has been revolving more on the data part of how we use machine learning and decentralization as well. And now I believe is the right time to step in and actually combine both of these fields, especially with the rise of generative AI, large language models, to democratize the data which has been able to feed such powerful machines and give back the power to everyone who has contributed in building actively these powerful tools. And with the development of AGI, which is part of everyone, I believe that everyone should have to take something back from that and develop something safer and more stable, which will be developed through us in the very end.
Thank you very much, Xhoni, for that introduction. I was wondering, I just wanted to touch on your educational background for a minute. You said that you've been a lecturer and you've been actively involved in educational outreach, right? So I would like to know how you would foster a more educated and engaged community at SingularityNet.
Sure. I think from the very beginning, I completely agree with what the community members said before. I have to take it up one step. Even before that, we have to educate and enlighten first, like all the members, let's say, of the DAO before we make any active decisions, in order to avoid what Alexis de Tocqueville would say, which is the tyranny of the majority. We want people to make the right decisions and not be based our governance only on simple numbers. In order to push forward the, let's say, the education of the individuals who will be partaking in the society, we need to make the right incentives and have them bring something valuable and something practical to the society. And in order, when they see and they reflect that their actions actually have value and they can be seen in the society, I believe that will incentivize them to even go further and pursue even higher impact actions towards that direction.
I'm very interested in what you say about incentives. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So first of all, I believe that the path to knowledge should be something that is practical, and we should give to everyone the chance to learn something which is valuable, and also educate them towards, like, whether it is technical, social, or psychological effects that we can bring in, whether it is for the development of the AI or AGI in this case, or the tokenomics behind the governance, or the technology from the bare metals, how it's brought up all the way to us seeing in the screen the full effects of the large language models. So the incentive in this case would not be something just monetarily, but will be something which would be based on knowledge, on practical effects that they can have in society, and reflect and see in the end what are the consequences of their actions for the betterment in this case. And also being part of something bigger and something greater than them, I believe would be a step forward towards the right incentives for everyone in the community.
So you're talking about kind of intrinsic motivation of people, and that when they come together in the DAO in this environment, their contribution, they would be able to see that.
Definitely, I believe that we as humans are different. We come from different backgrounds, have different purposes and different perspectives in life. As such, I believe the incentives as well should be diversified towards a common goal for everyone to be attracted and to pursue and to meaningfully interact with the community.
Thank you. I would also like to know a bit more about how your expertise in machine learning and in blockchain would help address the challenges that face SingularityNet.
Sure. So I believe having certain knowledge in machine learning and even deeper, let's say the data which fits in these machine learning models would bring in a better perspective on how to more effectively design the tokenomics behind in the committee, knowing what data flows in, how the models work, how let's say all these models are contributing and what is the value that they are bringing, all the way up from the resources being utilized, not only just data but also like other hardware resources, for example, or the timing and all these other different dimensions which we bring into the development of these models will help gain a better understanding and shift a different perspective on how we will effectively design tokenomics in a better light for everyone.
So are you talking about the data that is gathered from the functions in SingularityNet, or are you talking more widely? Okay, I understand.
Yes, it can be extended to wider cases as well, but in this case, just focused on our use case.
Okay, and have you encountered tools like this that you think might help, or an order of tool, a type of tool that that can help in this regard?
It depends specifically. Like there are many tools, whether decentralized or centralized, which can help bring in more explainability towards the models or towards, let's say, the platform or the different components which are contributing to the models. For example, if we are building a machine learning model, it's very practical to know the explainability behind it. For that, we have different methods and libraries, such as the Shapley values, where we bring in the importance of different features which contribute to a certain model. Or, for example, if we need to learn how the platform is interacting and the infrastructure, then we have different tools such as Datadog for the cloud infrastructure, which bring in the different, let's say, services that we are using for building this model. But it can be like a variety of tools depending on the specific scenario.
Great, thank you very much. If there are no further questions in the chat, I don't think there are. So we must now move on to Kenric. Kenric, welcome.
Esther, a practical question. I think the idea was to have a couple of candidates and then do a plenary session for community questions and then go to another 3 or 4 people.
Oh, that's right. So shall we open the floor for general questions then for the people who've already gone?
Yeah, also that time is quite limited. We have now had 4 people, so the rhythm was 3 people, have plenary session, 3 people. So it's still fresh in our minds, the question that we want to ask to any of these candidates that have been presented so far. But I think 4 is fine, since we have 1 extra anyway. So from this moment on, we can 3. So let's try for 5 minutes. Do we have any questions lined up?
It appears that there are none specifically from the chat.
What if there's questions on the chat, or we ask directly?
Yes, you can ask directly, of course.
Okay. To the last speaker, I think there was so much emphasis on incentives on your part, and So I really want to know, from your perspective, do you think incentive is a stronger motive, or is a stronger, how do I put it, value to drive the SNET ecosystem? Are people who come in for different incentives, no matter what that incentive is? Or should we push more around our values, our collective values, which is building the AGI and all that? Which do you think is a stronger motive that will help build a community?
Thank you for the question. Personally, I think, from my perspective, what would be more important is to have the right purpose and a combination of the right values, which would then lead to building something, like having a better path towards building something which would be useful and have practical utility. So I believe having a genuinely good purpose in life, and after that setting up from that the right values, and then building with that in mind, I think that would be a much better phrase than just having an incentive, let's say. But this is my perspective on it.
So, in other words, if you're coming in, you're going to place values against incentives. Like, that's just what I wanted you to clearly spell out.
Yes, definitely. Incentive is in like as in a shallow term. So like having the right values, it would be like properly phrased.
Awesome.
May I ask a question from within the chat? Just hello.
Just go ahead.
Yeah,
yes,
of course.
Yes. Because my understanding, and I may be getting this wrong, my understanding is that the Supervisory Council is overseeing or supervising all the elements that are contributing to the creation of SingularityNet, all the different associated organizations and internal organizations. And I'm not sure about the questions that are asking what are our personal solutions for these problems. The reason being is because I don't have the answers to these problems. These are the contribution of all members of the community. And what I'm feeling is that the focus of our efforts as a supervisory council is not to supervise other people's work. It's to, in the larger scale, in the larger picture, is to absolutely increase the community. We're talking to our own navels here, and it's a critical time in history. We've got to accelerate this benevolent AI rapidly, because the forces that would centralize us, which is the antithesis of what the SingularityNet is about, are very powerful, and they are getting more powerful. One of the things I saw is there's a commission, I forget the name of it, I was just watching the video, the UN Commission on AI, on the blocking of AI, on the restriction of AI, and I think that we should be part of that. We should be contributing to that. This larger sort of international, how AI is being perceived internationally, and how SingularityNet specifically is the answer for the people, the people's AI, something like that. Anyway, that's the end of my little pitch, or my question, my criticism.
There's been a little bit of chat about time per week being an important metric, but I think that we may leave some more plenary questions until a little bit later, because we need to move on to the last couple of people in this section. Why don't we go to Kenric? Kenric, welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Kenric Nelson, president of FOTREC. I completed my PhD at Boston University and my management education at MIT. I'm running for the SingularityNet Supervisory Council because, like you all, I share a passion for developing beneficial AGI. As a council member, I will serve your interests by listening carefully to the community and applying my skills in machine intelligence and decentralized governance. I was introduced to SingularityNet by Matt Ickel, the Chief Science Officer. He mentored FOTREC with our Cardano Catalyst project regarding forecasting token markets. FOTREC then went on to be the first deep funding team to launch applications on SNET's AI marketplace. We are currently conducting customer interviews to discover how the risk assessment and risk-aware data generator can create value. Building from my expertise in complex systems, I've had a variety of niches in designing decentralized governance systems. I served on Cardano Catalyst Circle, where I facilitated improvements in their review process. FOTREC has been educating the Cardano community in the value of quadratic voting and assisted Snaprilla in getting support to develop their capability. This year, we've been participant in Cardano's Voltaire workshops. FOTREC is currently working closely with John and Raphael to upgrade SingularityNet's governance reputation system. We just published our Fund 2 report, our final report, describing the proof of concept development that Robert Haas led and the roadmap for the minimum viable product that Juana Attieh led. Juana, who you just heard from, has joined FOTREC's leadership circle. She's working closely with myself and 3 other individuals to transform FOTREC into a sociocratic company. And we think those methods will be really valuable on the Supervisory Council. We link circles through 2-way communication, and each circle makes autonomous decisions by consent and then aligns with the mission of FOTREC to enlighten the pathway of dynamic communities like SingularityNet. These experiences will enable me to serve your interests in developing SingularityNet's blueprint for decentralized governance systems that both aligns with the community's mission to beneficial AGI and to continually push autonomy to the edges. Thanks. I'd love to have your support.
Thank you, Kenric. As a first question, I would like to ask you. So you just mentioned that you were pushing autonomy to the edges, and you mentioned something similar in your submission, something about pushing decision making to the edges as a pivotal step for the decentralization process. I was wondering what you meant by that, and how you see a bit more about how you see the voting and the decision making in the platform's future governance structure.
Okay, super. Yeah, I think this is really crucial both for how we work together as a community and then how AI integrates with humanity in making decisions itself. And in order to learn more about this, I have recently joined an organization called Sociocracy for All. It's founded and led by a gentleman named Ted Rao, who describes the importance of both autonomy, in which people and circles and groups are able to be independent in how they make decisions, but then also to balance that with alignment in terms of being together in the missions that you're trying to carry out. And so there's 2 technologies that I think will be beneficial to our development that can really help with this. One is the quadratic voting, which SingularityNet is already committed to, and I think we can bring some more innovations to those designs like we're doing with the reputation system. And then I think there's a second one that it goes by a variety of different names, but sociocracy or dynamic governance allows people to form teams in circles, and a little bit like Philip and Mars was saying is that leadership is still important, but we need to kind of redefine what the role of leadership is. So leadership, first of all, from a young age, I've understood to be serving a community, not overseeing a community. And then secondly, in these sociocratic communities, the leader is really responsible for making sure you have alignment with the mission. but other responsibilities like facilitator or secretary and delegates to other circles also kind of diffuse the leadership and make it so that it's not the leader who's making a decision, rather it's the whole circle who's making a decision together by consent. And I think these principles have really transformed the way FOTREC is working, and I think they can transform other organizations too, and would be terrific for a Singularity Net.
Thank you. That's already answered one of the other questions that I pre-generated, so you preempted it.
Are you saying I'm ahead of AGI? I don't think so.
But I did have a follow-up question about the kind of sociocratic method and this kind of circular method, because I've encountered it in different forms. It's one of the staples of holacracy as well, I think. That you have these interactive circles with overlaps and things. But one of the weaknesses or perhaps one of the challenges associated with that is to avoid, too many people having too many meetings at too many time slots. There can be a kind of overwhelm or a confusion about roles. So do you have any comments on that sort of thing?
So one thing, I think it's important not to be rigid about it. I studied both holacracy and the sociocratic methods. My conclusion was that holacracy had gone too far in defining too many micro rules and is a really kind of constraining process. I'm more in favor of the sociocratic method of a few simple principles that give guidance to how teams can work effectively. Secondly, these principles really apply most to kind of policy decisions. Not every group, not every team, not every individual kind of needs to work in this sociocratic method. It's just that when as a community, I think what it does is that it's there to help communities scale in size in terms of what they can accomplish together, but still retaining decentralized decision-making by allowing circles and individuals to have some autonomy in how they go about their work.
Thank you very much, Kenric. Much food for thought there.
Super.
Shall we hear from Gavriel? Are you around, Gavriel?
Yes, just went to go grab a drink. So thank you. My story is that bad managers made my early work life very difficult. And eventually, as I became a manager, I got to make other people's work life very difficult. Through immersion at different size companies and the practical approaches to systems thinking, lean management, and so on, I realized the impact of good governance versus bad. The theme across them is that, and we've just been touching on it, so it's interesting, decisions should be made where the work is done, right? But this does not mean that everyone has an equal say on everything that is happening in an organization, a recipe for DAO disaster. I'm also certified in depth coaching, which is about working with core values. All that led me, as just been mentioned, to sociocratic governance, nonviolent communication. I've been an elected chief delegate of Eden DAO community and a current core member of Haifa DAO platform with a couple hundred startup DAOs in its network. I've worked with 2 VC funds and led a Web3 VC incubator. I'm of the view that Web3 communities have thrown the baby out with the bathwater by ignoring tremendous best practice from traditional industry. In a nutshell, defining sophisticated process that accounts for global optima or best results for the overall system. I don't believe in majority rule. I think voting is very dangerous. I do believe strongly in meritocracy and contributor relevance to specific decision making. Now I work to systematically curate community interests without diluting the quality of decisions that are being made. So I'll stop there as my intro.
Thank you for that, Gavriel. I was one thing that sprang to mind when you were talking about the traditional systems was can you tell me a bit more about how you would integrate practices from traditional systems into your approach to DAOs, or how have you done that in the past?
Yeah, so a lot of DAO communities, like it's almost like we've got a Gen Z mentality in the Web3 space, which is like, we don't want management. Leadership is a challenge of defining what that really means. I think it was very well put, I think, by Kenric, saying servant leadership. But we're kind of anti-structure, anti-order. We want everyone to have an equal say kind of perspective. And I think, again, that's highly dangerous and it dilutes effectiveness. There are incredible practices, lean management, something called Toyota Kata. I made the transition in my own management career when I discovered something called Toyota Kata. And this is a way to coach people to make their own decisions. If you look at agile methodology, the philosophy is actually there. It's saying that allow people, self-organizing teams, and allow people to be able to make their own decisions. And then it's about curating and understanding the priorities, the bigger picture, etc. But there's so many tools, so many methods that are overlooked by current DAO communities.
Thank you for that. I wanted to ask also about what you said about meritocracy and not leading by majority. I agree that there are many problems associated with voting, and we've seen them come up again and again in the last 5 years with DAOs, and many of them fail and many of them go under because they can't make proper decisions and so on. But I also wanted to know, when you work in a meritocracy, there are sometimes marginalized voices that can be hard to see for various reasons. And I wondered what your thoughts on making sure that people are properly included and that all voices are heard when, for example, writing the blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took the Eden community through a series of, well, originally it was supposed to be 4 workshops and it became 8 and then 12, and then I got elected as chief delegate. And what I did basically was listened to every member, created these workshops with shared documents, like a Google document. We would be there together writing the contents of the document and adding comments in the sidelines, and then it went into the Telegram and other people that couldn't show up for the meeting. So we're just collating, and in that sense being totally inclusive, transparent. And then we would start, or I would do a lot of the work of looking for the similarities, like collating the categories of topics that are being discussed, and gradually moving the community to the visibility that everyone's voice is included, and we're paraphrasing to capture the spirit of what people were saying, while moving forwards on the basis of values or objectives or consent, as again Kenric has mentioned there from Sociocracy for All. And so we'd move forward. So it's about starting by collating all voices and then gradually finding, how do we simplify this? So we ended up with a position paper that was maybe, I think, 4 pages long, that was a true reflection of how the community paraphrased everything that was said in many dozens of pages collected through these various workshops.
Stephen mentions in the chat that sociocracy can suffer from the tyranny of consensus and relies on people speaking up. So is that ever an issue when generating ideas and making sure that people are heard?
Yeah, I think sociocracy is very often misunderstood, and Sociocracy for All does a wonderful job of making the distinction between consensus and consent. Sociocracy is not about consensus, it's about consent. So consent is where a person says, I want to do this, and everyone else has a chance to say, hold on a minute, there's a risk that we can see, let's talk about the risks. And if there's no one that can see a risk or a significant concern, then the person can go and do what they wanted to do. So I don't know if that it maybe takes 5 minutes of reading the article, and I'm trying to be efficient here with the time, but it's not about consensus, it's about consent.
I understand. Thank you very much, Gavriel, for sharing your thoughts, and I know that I put you on the spot there. So thank you for your thoughtful responses.
Thank you.
Shall we do a brief few-minute plenary for any questions before we start the second?
I would suggest, Esther, we did 4 the previous round. I would suggest we would continue with Marta and Cole, and we have 4 again. And then in the last session, we also have 4. So we have 4 people and then a plenary session. Would you agree to that?
Let's do it.
Do you consent to that?
Informed consent. Do we have Marta here?
Yes, hello. Hi.
Welcome, Marta.
Hi. I also consent.
Good. Were you present for the brief instructions at the beginning of the session?
No, sorry, I was still teaching the class and just came.
No problem though. It's simply that everybody gets 2 to 3 minutes, as you know from the emails, and then we ask a few questions, some of which are AI generated, and then every few sessions we stop and do a few questions for everybody from everybody.
Yeah.
Great. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Marta Lenartowicz. I'm based in Belgium, Brussels. I work at the university in Brussels at the research center, which is called CLEA, which is an interdisciplinary place, and some of the PhD works that are underpinning philosophically, I would say, the Singularity Net project and a few participating projects were discussed in PhDs that I was a proud member of the jury then. So I'm very, very proud to see what's happening. And I understand my candidacy to the council as a candidacy to participate, to be at the table of co-designers of a blueprint for not problem solving, but for enablement of and quite radical and visionary enabling of a strategic outlook and a promise and a potential that this project has. So it's a co-designing challenge, and in that I don't want to come, like pushing particular types of tools or designs that I'm already bringing, because I understand that as thinking together challenge and task for some time. My background, I have a PhD in humanistic management, which is a type of management that starts from understanding the human component of the management processes, and also the human value system as an evolutionary landscape of management and economics. I teach at the university in Brussels courses. This year it's complexity and evolution and society and technology. I have also started a postgraduate for adults, for quite mature adults, which is called the School of Thinking, where we try to come together and think things through. and in that spirit, I understand the workings of the council to be exactly that, seriously thinking what the project, how it should be operating on the human, economic, social, and governance as understood as decision-making way and level. And I consider those questions, they are as important for an R&D of the AGI development as the tech is. If we are not speaking about one single developer, working as this conventional corporation, then the way those contributors, these contributing startups will coordinate and will co-create, it's a design challenge. It is as as non-existing as a as a design as some of the tech that is still needed. So this is how I understand, and I think that the contribution I want to bring to the council is framing of the task, ambitiously and like seriously. And I don't believe that the framing is troubleshooting in like communication process and something like, we have understand that the stakeholders we have is the entire humanity, and it's serious and it's really pivotal, and we are in a very tiny window of opportunity here. So the challenge of framing the question, right? It will be the most influential part of what will come, with in the end of the process. It's really, I would say 70% of what will come is already with in the end is determined by how we will phrase and how we will formulate what we are supposed to deliver.
Thank you, Marta. I would very much like to know, you have this extensive background in research and in management and coordination and organizational design. Is that roughly the area that? So what I would very much like to know is what are the key things that you would carry over from your past experiences in that area to decentralization? So one of the areas that I have dedicated a lot of time and energy to was understanding how social processes self-organize and how they form ways of acting that start working as boundaries. And I'm very interested in boundedness, or the challenge of bounding of communities, which are communities of practice, communities of knowledge, basically like structures that give us a sense of belonging. And in that, my attitude is really like I'm skeptical, like when and I don't know, like I don't want to come across politically incorrect in the context that we are in, but when I hear speech about community, I'm kind of like I don't know, because for me the community is something very value-laden and very. There is a boundary to a community. There is a boundary to each community. There is like inward and outward. There is them and us. And this is what I'm not a fan of. And I believe like if we are serious about Singularity Net being a network, not like a cozy bubble, and being a network which is decentralized, which I understand also as kind of boundless. Yes, it's not decentralized in the sense that there's no like king at the center of all that, but also that initiatives can join, people can join. There is nobody is really considered outside. Yes, then thinking in terms of community creation has to be really, really taken carefully. And a lot of design challenge, and this is what I've been working on, is how do you actually counterbalance those closures that create this sense of like being in and being more entitled and being more that this is ours, yes, and so I'm very sensitive to that, and I really believe that our challenge here in terms of setting up the design would best be served if we thought about the entire humanity, as not token holders and not only users, but really people who will be gravely affected by whatever is happening in the AI, and in that sense stakeholders and people with a voice, which has consequences, because if you think like that, like the conversation about, okay, we want to hear from everybody, we are now speaking about 8 billion people all of a sudden, yes. If we are speaking about
all impactful AI developments, potentially using SingularityNet as a platform for coordination and exchange and collaboration. We are also speaking about the big ones. Yes, what kind of designs would modulate or mediate such developments and making their cooperation decentralized? So this kind of thinking.
Thank you very much, Marta. I look forward to hearing more about the intersection between SingularityNet's interests and your research. Thank you. Shall we move on to Cole, please?
Yeah, definitely. Can I just share some slides quickly?
Have we reactivated sharing? I can't.
I don't think I have. Oh, actually, I should be good now. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So hello, my name's Cole Bartlett, and I'm here today to talk about why I applied for the Supervisory Council and why you should pick me. I have been a part of the SingularityNet community from afar since 2020. From my past experiences and recent growth, I think I can bring to the Council a youth perspective that puts the next generation of builders and creators at the forefront of the decision-making process and creating a decentralized blueprint for the community. Looking at my background, first with education, I studied at the University of New Hampshire where I focused on both economics and sustainability, and this has helped me build a great base to create transformative change. Looking at leadership, I've taken part in a lot of leadership activities which have helped me add a lot of value to the different communities I'm a part of. I've taken part in the LEAD leadership program through the UNH. I've taken part in the decentralized lead generation program and also taught sustainability youth education courses. Looking at blockchain for good, I've done extensive research for the last 4 years on blockchain and how technology can help make the world a more equitable place for all. During this experience, I've built sustainable ADA and Impact Web3, and also participated in communities like Positive Blockchain and Socius. For community collaboration, my past work in supporting communities and creating engaging collaboration has allowed for me to gain a great understanding and appreciation for connecting with new members of different ecosystems and supporting them where I can. I've taken part in the Project Catalyst community, the Deep Funding ecosystem, the Cardano for Climate community, and the Agassiz Foundation NGO. Looking at my skills and engagement, I was part of for the UN Youth Delegate Program, I was part of a cohort of the top 100 changemakers across the globe focused on accelerating the SDGs. For the Cardano Project Catalyst community, I've been in the Project Catalyst ecosystem since Fund 4 and have taken part in a lot of the different governance processes. Looking at the Cardano Impact Report 2023, I co-authored a 596-page document connecting blockchain with sustainability and impact, highlighting over 65 projects that are making a difference in the world. And something really special is we had the opportunity to highlight some really cool SingularityNet projects as well. Some additional programs and activities I've taken part in are the entrepreneurship program through the Catalyst Boost Camp, onboarding courses and material for Cardano community members, the B Impact Assessment for impact measurement, and the Leadership DAO course. So why me? First, a young perspective. I think this will allow us to better support the younger generation of the SingularityNet community. I will be able to be a voice for the people and help bring different perspectives into the decision-making process. I'm also a team player and have holistic views. My experience has shown my track record of being a team player and has allowed me to approach challenges holistically, ensuring that solutions bring all perspectives to the table. And then my educational background and experiences. These experiences have equipped me with a deep understanding of both the economic and environmental aspects of projects, including insights into impact measurement. And then I also want everyone to have a voice. If you choose me, I will be a voice for the community and a friend to all. I will be committed to helping with the decentralization and growth of the SingularityNet ecosystem. And that's a little bit about me.
Thank you very much, Cole. I was wondering, as you were speaking, given your role in the blockchain and sustainability sectors, how do you feel, or how do you expect to integrate the two fields and with AI, of course, and how would your membership in the council contribute to that?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, with the last 4 years diving into all these different ideas of how blockchain itself can connect with sustainability and impact as a whole, I've also been able to dive into the Singularity Net ecosystem and look at different AI projects within the community that also are representing those same characteristics. And I think with my ability to kind of go out and find these projects and these different ideas, I'll be able to easily kind of bring that over into this ecosystem and kind of bring that knowledge and expertise to the supervisory board.
Yeah,
I think you're on
Esther.
mute.
Always happens once in a while, doesn't it? Yes, so you've been involved in multiple initiatives, and you've been part of plenty of decentralized communities. So how would you handle conflict in the council and in the communities?
Yeah, well, with conflict and between the council and the communities, first, I think it's really important to get everyone's opinion and voice, kind of having a systems thinking approach to the decision-making process. And I think a good way of doing that is kind of creating a mediation process that kind of allows for both parties to have their different views like stated and talked about, and then also like allowing for like kind of core community members to come in and like support or like kind of have a little bit of a say on like what they believe and what they don't, and maybe like kind of voting or finding a good mediation process to help support the different ideas. And maybe there will be some like very hard, like it could be like someone's biased towards one side and the other. And I think like having that perspective and being able to get all the different ideas from community members is really how you can get to an answer and decision.
Thank you. Given your experience in sustainability and your interest in that area, there is some overlap between that and ethics. So I was wondering, how would you approach the ethical implications in AI, and do you see that as being part of your role in the Supervisory Council?
Yeah, most definitely. I think the ethics is like a super important part of it all. And I think, like I said before, like being able to think of how like these different decisions are going to have an effect on all these different pieces of the community, or what they may not have an effect on, is really important in taking into consideration when making the decisions, because I think like if you don't have all these different perspectives on the table, and if you can't like have, like I said, the youthful perspectives and also like senior perspectives who maybe have a lot more experience in this field, then it will allow it will kind of only allow for what is currently there. So like if we just choose like to go with what the senior members of the community want to do, I think it won't be allowing the next generation of the builders and creators who are going to actually drive this ecosystem for many generations and generations to come. So I think it's really important to think of what the effects would be within every decision making, with every decision made. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
I see someone asked how old I am. I'm 24, so I'm about 3 years out of school, and yeah, that's quickly a little answer. I can answer any other questions a little later on. Thank you so much, and so great to be here, everyone.
Thank you, Cole. Shall we do a little plenary? Great. Has anybody, if we can turn it into a kind of free-for-all, if anybody's got any questions, then feel free to speak up or put it in the chat, whichever you prefer.
If no one's going to jump in, I certainly will. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for the people who have already spoken. Isn't it an impossible job for for you, Esther, and for Jan and for Peter to make decisions about these people? There's just not enough slots. Everybody has got such important things to say. The framing that Marta talked about, again, I'm so much in agreement with that. What could somebody please outline for us, what are the things that you're wanting us to express about our backgrounds? I mean, Cole just pointed out his youth and his connection with the way people are thinking, young people are thinking right now. And I really like this, but I also see the challenge for an organization that isn't operating on the experience of what really happens in DAOs, what really happens in organizations and in committees and in human interaction. The purpose of the Supervisory Council, if I understand from the name alone, is supervisory. It is not technical, it's not expert. It's making sure that as Kenric and Gabriel and Marta and Joanna and Mars have already pointed out, and Cole's pointed out as well, we need, there's a huge industry with a time limit. There's a real time pressure on us. In this next 6 months, we have to come up with a blueprint on how to accelerate the sustainable development of Singularity Net. So there's no question in that. I'm just speaking as my heart is reacting.
Just as a community member, Philip, I'm a punk and I shout out bullshit, even if not wanted. The decisions on the Supervisory Council are not made by Pete, Jan, and Esther. This is done by a community vote. So the community will vote on you.
Very important point. You're absolutely correct. But they convened it. I guess that's what I'm pointing out is that there is.
And there's a reason why this conversation is going on, because I'm going to vote for you based on what I think you're going to represent and what you're going to be doing there for me. So this is why we are putting you on the spot, and I need to know who you are. I need to know the set of philosophies that that you identify with, because that's going to define my future, and I have to take it very seriously.
Good point. Very good.
There are a lot of people speaking up, but there's one modestly holding his hand up. So Tommy, this is your space.
You are muted though. There we go.
Yeah. I had some questions, but I want to compliment everybody, all the candidates for stepping up. And you all have different visions, which is important. This is a blueprint committee that you're looking to build. And Cole, only because you went last and only because I'm an old man, your statement about youth and how important it is for youth without experience almost sounded like we should shove out old guys like us that have experience. Yet I'm very, very excited to see young people come in. I'm very excited, Philip, and you look almost as old as I am. You talk almost as much as Jan talks. But Cole, as a question, didn't your statement just segregate the potential of the committee if there's old people there?
I think I might have said it a little bit wrong. I just think we should also, I think both perspectives, can you hear me? I think both perspectives are very important, and I think both should be weighed the same way. But I just think also having the youth perspective combined with this expert perspective will allow for those thoughts of the younger generations who are going to be leading this organization, leading this ecosystem for or being the next builders and creators for this ecosystem should have a say in that process. But I don't think that, I think the experts and the people who've been educated and learning all these skills and these ideas for years and years, that's like so important. And I think combining the two is where something beautiful happens and where real cascading disruption can be created.
Great words, and I suggest that we move on to the next cohort of 4. Esther, take it away.
Remember to unmute myself this time. Okay, thanks everybody for your questions so far. Do we have Adrian here? Adrian's
Yes.
not here?
Hello, everybody.
Or is he?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, welcome, Adrian. Good to see you.
Hello, Esther. Hello, everybody.
Would you like to introduce yourself today, Adrian?
Of course. I'm Adrian Niculescu, 7 years old in the blockchain industry, and I was attracted first to this industry by what I called the democratization of opportunity. What I saw when I joined the blockchain space, or you can call it the Web3 space, I'm more a technology and blockchain guy than a crypto guy, was that the usual boundaries like, okay, age, location, even formal skills didn't exist. And I said to myself from the start to be a contributor in the industry. And I'm a sales, marketing, and business development professional. And I've tried to build on reputation. I'm an advisor in about 15 blockchain projects, from startups to a Nasdaq listed company. I'm in a few projects as a team member and tried everything I could to build on reputation. It was a discussion about ethics earlier. And what attracted me to apply for this role were actually 3 things. First, I see a huge opportunity at the intersection between blockchain and artificial intelligence. Huge, huge opportunity. Also, because I'm a marketing person, I see that we are in a very, very early stages of decentralization. Is more a marketing word than a reality right now. And I would like to contribute to a huge project building and executing in this space. So making the decentralization from a marketing word to a thing we are actually living and experiencing. And the third thing, because Mihaela Uliegu is involved and she's a fellow Romanian, a very good friend, she told me about this. And what I can bring to the table, actually, I think I can bring to the table, is a helicopter view and help in implementation, putting the blueprints into the practice, and also making sure that the startups and the community are on the same page and the ideas which are communicated are received the same way. I have a lot of experience with startups, being also judge in different startups competitions. And I also speak at a lot of events. The next one will be WOW Summit this weekend in Dubai, one of the biggest Web3 shows. So my 3 minutes are up. I was pretty close, right? 2-3 seconds above. I could speak for a few days, so it's a big effort to put in few minutes, few ideas.
Thank you, Adrian. I was wondering, or rather, let's say ChatGPT was wondering. So you mentioned that one of the execution challenges is the transition from paper to reality, or from blueprint to reality. Do you anticipate any specific challenges in this process?
The basic challenges are the ones when you try to implement things looking very well on paper, because when you put things into reality, you have internal conflicts, external conflicts, and even maybe the nature will test you. That's why most of the startups are failing, because everybody, let's say, can do a nice white paper, a theoretical thing, but when you put this into practice, you need a lot of, grit, determination, and so many things you don't even know about, right, to overcome until you get to a result. And from my experience, I saw that even if you have, let's say, a very nice crafted plan, you need in the implementation process more like a GPS, because many things will not, in the reality, will look different. So you will have as a goal the destination, but the GPS will say, okay, here you need to take left, you need to take right, will be some rain on the way, things you don't know when you start working on that thing. So will be a lot of challenges, and it's important to have the psychology, or even, to coach other people to get those skills, to be able to actually implement, right? Because the biggest opportunity in blockchain and also in AI is to build things, to make them a reality.
Thank you for that. There's a couple of questions in the chat that I want to focus on. Felix asks how your LinkedIn profile lists a variety of financial focused engagements, and he would like to know how would these interests be balanced as a council member for a decentralized community. So your LinkedIn profile says digital investment banker, keynote speaker, marketer, investor, and so on. So how could these be balanced as a council member?
It's very simple. I'm a Gemini, and usually Geminis are dual personalities, so they have the interest in few places, and they can be very defocused, so not to achieve anything by being in so many things, or if they shift the focus to few things, this is, let's say, my organized struggle, they can do very well in few areas. When I've started in the blockchain space, I saw something which was very different from the classical financial world. And because I was told you that I'm advisor in a number of companies, in most of these projects, I have token allocations or stock allocations, and based on those, I've started an investment fund. And because crypto can be called the new Wall Street, building startups and building projects somehow were connected to the financial side. And as said, I'm not a theory preacher. I'm a doer, So I always take the hard route, or I take the stairs, and my contribution will be from this angle. I'm not the classical financial consultant. Never said that, and I became an investor by trying to go out from being just a struggling entrepreneur. I have an MBA degree, but the worst moment in business for me was like in 1-2 months after I got the MBA degree. This was my story. So I said, okay, I need to learn some other things. And I try to be as authentic as possible. I don't want to look in a different way than who am I actually, right? So everything which is on my LinkedIn profile is 100% true, can be tested, can be proved. And this is my angle for looking at things, because as an organization, if you don't make, sales, right? Like a startup. If you don't make sales, if you don't have clients, maybe you will eat some money from the investors, and you may die as a project earlier. So if I do marketing, that marketing sooner or later has to have some sales outcomes.
Can you please wrap up, Adrian? Can you please wrap up? The time is up.
Yes, I told you I could speak for days. So
I know we all can.
We all can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Is Luis in the room?
Yes, I am.
Great. Welcome,
Hello.
Luis.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi. Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Luis Vivan. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm a legal counsel with over 20 years of experience in the technology industry. I'm very happy to participate in this process, as I'm pretty much aligned with the values of the foundation. And I strongly believe that my expertise has a lot to do with important needs of a project like this, especially strategic communication. Translating complex matters into digestible and synthetic language. And not to mention my previous experience with compliance, governance, and regulatory matters. I guess that's it. Please feel free for any questions. I hope I can be of assistance, and thank you so much.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we ask you some questions? I have, is there anybody who would like to ask in the chat about Luis? In the meantime, I was wondering, given the rapid advancements and the occupation with the legality of DAOs and other decentralized organizations, what do you see as being the most pressing legal challenge facing decentralized projects like SingularityNet?
I believe you gotta build credibility. So the devil is in the details. We gotta work on a very solid framework, and I believe you gotta study past ventures and understand what was gone wrong and try to learn from past mistakes. So it suggests a lot of reflection for all of the members in order for everybody to study past mistakes in order to learn from the past and try to build a more solid framework, to build more credibility with all the stakeholders, governments, regulatory agencies, and so forth. So.
And do you see any specific legal threats?
Definitely. The Howey test, and we have legal threats in civil liability. We have data privacy. We have governance matters. There are a lot of things to be very, very well studied and addressed. So,
do you
I think regulatory matters are the main challenge is regulatory. So, we have enforcement, contractual enforcement, jurisdiction. We have to maybe study arbitration options for conflicts. So there's a very, very vast, lots of problems to be studied, and I would suggest a lot of reflection for all the members of the council to address all of this.
I would like to ask about your expertise in conflict resolution, which you put in your candidacy submission. Can you say what some of the most common areas of friction are in DAOs in decentralized systems and how best to overcome them?
I'm a mediator as well, so I believe, as Cole suggested, we have to use a lot of mediation techniques in the interactions between the members of the community, of the council. So I believe we would use that in the communication. I think different points of views of all of the members of the community. We could use mediation techniques to address that, to properly address that. And clear and communication as well, digested application. So to make sure everybody is heard and we have a proper process for hearing everybody.
Do you think there are any common themes in conflict in decentralized systems?
Sorry?
Common themes, like what are the subjects that people clash over and over again, let's say, in these systems or in organizations more generally, in your opinion?
To be honest, I don't have an opinion on that now. Devil is in the details. I will have to further study this topic in order to give you a proper response.
Okay, no problem. I put you on the spot there, and ChatGPT put you on the spot there.
Sure.
And you mentioned about the decision-making process, the 6-page memo technique in your candidacy. Could you reflect on how you would balance efficiency and depth in the decision-making?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's why I suggest prior reflection on every topic in order to avoid cognitive biases like the prevalence of the first speaker and average opinions. So, but we can't take a lot of time with written opinions. So we have to think about a proper balance for that. But definitely, I would recommend everybody to try to write about the topics and try to make do its own homework in order to study past ventures, to past problems, and I think it would guarantee a more diverse opinion that all of the opinions of everybody should be heard. So we will have to find a balance on that. I don't have this answer right now, but I would be glad to find out with the other members.
Thank you very much, Luis, for sharing your thoughts. Thank you
all. Thanks.
Is Phil in the room?
Hello.
Hi, Phil. Welcome.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting to grips with the technology. A little bit rusty. Yeah. So I'm just going to get my dog out of the room, if I may. Just a second. Right. There we go. So first of all, thank you, Esther, for allowing me to talk to you all this evening. Thank you for inviting me to your community for this presentation. At the start of the process, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a Supervisory Council application or an expert support application I was interested in. So I thought, why not let the community listen to what I can offer and see where it goes. I'm retired, 59, I said. I've been an engineer most of my life. Started working on supertankers and ended up 40 years later as a business architect for different clients. Leading towards the acceleration and convergence of technologies in a strategic sense. I think at that point, I'd like to perhaps put the slide deck on that I sent, if that's all right, because I've timed this to do it about 3 minutes. So here we go. Let's have a look. Share screen. Full screen. Anyone know how I can share a content? In my settings.
On your Zoom actions, you should normally see a green big button where it's written share screen.
Share screen, yes.
Exactly. When you click this, you should be able to share.
No, I don't see the button. Sorry. Okay. Share screen. Ah, there we go. Now I see it. That's this one. Share. Right. I can put this into. I hope this will be worth it. I can see the buttons. Slideshow. Are we good? Can everybody see what I'm presenting?
Yes.
Right. So, I should point out, by the way, I have a rather unusual personality type. I'm an assertive architect, and I'm on the high-functioning autistic spectrum. So if I rub anyone up the wrong way, my apologies. I've been described as, I've written it down actually, arrogant and socially clueless. So with that in mind, let me just tell you where my career ended up. The last 15 years, I was systems engineering specialist and business architect. And typically I'd sit in front of the clients and they would ask me these three questions: why are we here, what do we do, and how do we do it? If you were lucky, you were able to help them navigate towards the why they were there and come up with appropriate solutions to what they do based on the how. Okay. If you're unlucky, the client had preconceptions of why they were there and they expected what they would do. And if you were lucky, you had to find ways of making the connection between the two. So I'm not here to sell systems engineering. Just let me minimize that so I can see. Not here to sell systems engineering, but I've distilled the, if you like, the corporate view, the Wikipedia view, which is very, very complicated. And if you look at the NATO systems engineering handbook, for example, that's a lifetime of reading. I've tried to distill the message down into the discipline that I wanted to bring to the Supervisory Council. Basically, you start with good vision at the top left, imagination and wisdom, which is your why. You break that down into the smallest possible ideas, and then you build it up along the other side into bigger stuff until you get something useful out of the end. Okay? In that process, you make sure that you maintain the changes that occur between actually what we thought was going to be useful isn't so useful, and actually what we wanted wasn't quite what we defined. And that forms part of the virtuous circle that takes you round from vision back to useful stuff. The discipline elements then are keeping humans in the loop, you being lean because you only do what's needed. You do what's determined by the vision, down through the ideas and back up through the big stuff. It's holistic for those same reasons, and it's traceable because you keep very close record of what the changes were and the starting point. Okay, so my proposal to the group is that what we need is this discipline, and actually where I think we are is over here on the left-hand side. We don't have anything like in the world something that represents an architecture that generative AI could one day aspire to, and that we could replicate to useful effect in any form of DAO. What we need to do is have that visionary element that actually drives the system that will one day give us the useful stuff at the right-hand side. And whether that useful stuff is machinery to clean the environment or artificial superintelligence, or we get it wrong, we all end up in some sort of weird dysfunctional society. That's where we need to have that discipline. The entire model is our vision. The biggest problem I see in this challenge is that we're not yet in that loop. So if I give you one very quick example, this is on beneficial decentralization. And if any of you recognize me from the community, the Singularity Net community, Phil Wood, you'll notice that I've put about 30 odd ultimate project suggestions there. This is one very brief example that just talks through how you actually refine that vision, connect your success factors in, and get something that leads to something that you then have discipline to drive this process and get the outcome that you want in a truly holistic, lean, traceable, beneficial, decentralized sense. Any questions? Will I faff about with the technology and stop sharing?
Thank you for that, Phil. I'm very interested in the systems engineering approach. One question that came to mind was how you would expect to balance the rather technical systems thinking with the community engagement part of the Supervisory Council's role.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Systems engineering, in my opinion, is brilliant. If you want to land a probe on Jupiter's moon and get some samples and send some telemetry back, etc., you apply that process and you have a reasonable risk confidence and cost profile that you can do it. Okay? If you want to actually keep human beings in the loop, if you want to actually define a vision that is written and crafted with imagination and wisdom, drives through the process, gets to a desirable user experience at the other end, and then goes on that circle to improve and refine and make it fair and equitable and available to all. That's the bit that's missing from the process. Okay, we have the discipline and we have the emergent properties of getting the social media, the social culture, the DAO cultures emerging as a separate entity, but we don't have those two things connected. Okay, if I went and said to AI tomorrow, I want to end world hunger, we might have a disastrous outcome, because that isn't, the AI alignment problem, etc., the intermediate goals will all get in the line of a problem that is well intended by humanity, but then not well defined in terms of its expected outcomes. Now, I'd like to imagine that you've got an AI hierarchy that's actually devoted to understanding different elements of human needs, for example, different elements on the sustainability of the environment. You put a headset on, then you talk to somebody, whether it's real or artificial or a mixture, and say, right, show me what the outcome would be. If we did this, if we spent that money, consumed those resources, what would the experience be like? And that's the way I think to bring the technology together with the user experience, the human element. It's that discipline cycle that we need. Can't hear you, sorry.
And what about your own role engaging with the decentralized communities at SingularityNet?
Yeah, now that's a good question. I've got lots of technological experience. I understand technology, but I'm as I've demonstrated this afternoon, I'm hopeless at applying it. So I'm looking for very much a sort of a supportive consulting role in the discipline of systems engineering. Okay, it's something that first of all you've got to think, is it right for me? And I would say the answer is yes. If you're planning a holiday, you do systems engineering in your head without thinking about it. Yeah, have I got enough money? Am I going to be safe? What's my method of transport? What are the temperatures? What's it going to cost me? You put all those things in your mind and you get together a plan without even knowing about it. Now you could apply that same process, you can scale it and replicate it all the way up to getting a probe on the moons of Jupiter with the same confidence that you have about the success levels and the intended outcomes you expect. Now, obviously, NASA deal with risk profiles, and they'll tell you, you know, what components are likely to fail and what redundancy of systems they need. But at the human element, you have exactly that same process. Yeah. If we choose this course, this path of action, what will the likely outcomes be? What are the requirements that drive us towards those outcomes? And can we simulate the intended outcome before we release something that could be devastating on the population? That's the kind of balance.
Thank you, Phil. I do agree that the systems level is something that is often overlooked in decentralized design. Thank you very much for coming here and speaking with us today. We'll move on now to our last candidate of today, Sebastian. Are you here? Oh, great.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. I'm looking for knowing many faces in this room, so I trust that this Supervisory Council exercise will be in good hands. So my name is Sebastian Pabon. I'm from Colombia, Latin America. I am 42. In the last 20 years, I've been involved in education. Education is my life, but this interest and this area has evolved in me and in the world in general. In my first years, I've been teacher from elemental areas, maths and computer science and something like that for kids. And that was 15 years ago. After that, the decentralization, this experiment around the people of the world comes to my life. So I start to be involved deeply in these kind of ecosystems. The last 3 years, I've been active in the Cardano ecosystem, contributing in many ways I can have as educator, as also as an active contributor to many governance and decentralized experiments and exercise that take place in the Cardano ecosystem. Since the last year, I've been attending, trying to understand the Singularity Net ecosystem. But in my opinion, it's all the same in this decentralized and all this decentralized effort is all the same in this moment, or in this moment in time is the same. We as ecosystems, we are trying to give shape to a specific infrastructure, social infrastructure, that gives the people the power to make things simply make things and do their best with what they have. We can say we can name that as a fair distribution of opportunities, a fair participation, maybe a fair way to give the people the governance of their own decisions and responsibilities. But okay, I think my interest in these exercises, I'm good being a member of a community, but it's not my instinct being quiet when I can do more for the people and for the community. So that's it in general terms. All other information you can find it in my proposal in the Sway platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian.
It's my pleasure.
I would like to ask a question, unless there is somebody who would put one in the chat for Sebastian. You have a strong background in education, and I was wondering how you see the intersection of education and decentralization.
I can talk about that from my own book, because I'm an educated person. But in general, in my experience, I can say that education is the best way to involve people in something, whatever you want. For example, in technology or maths, or how to gain some kind of principles, fundamentals, or something of something. Education is the best way to integrate people to all in general, but specifically to new experiments, in this case social experiments, and like this, for example, and is the best way to involve people, because education has this special artifact of going deep in the people and trying to extract from the people the best that they can provide. That's
and regarding applying it in a decentralized setting, do you have any comments about how you would go about educating a relatively dispersed community? I know it's a tough question to put you on the spot, so feel free to take a time out if you don't want to go for that one.
No, not at all. I think, in my opinion, I know my colleagues here and partners and friends in this decentralized work can provide better information about that. But I think one of the last stages of a decentralized exercise is governance. This part when you give people a kind of way to execute some kind of decision in front of a situation. We in this ecosystems, these ecosystems, we try to give people the chance to take decisions, but people must learn to take decisions in a responsible way, as accepting the consequence of their decisions in general. So I think in these decentralized ecosystems is fundamental. Involve people in how to take the responsibility of act actively in these kind of ecosystems. I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit, but okay, I don't know if I'm in the point.
Yes, thank you for your reflections. It's possible that what's going on my end is a bit distracting for you.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, I had also a further question Oh, Phoenix has posted a question in the chat. So he says, you're a member of Emergo, one of Cardano's founding entities, Academy, one of the Emergo Academy. Is that a bias or is it an advantage in this case for the Supervisory Council position?
No, I think all the organizations, the entities in an ecosystem have the right to learn how to make things better. The Emergo Academy is part of a big organization in Cardano, but they tend to perceive the reality of the ecosystems in a different way. So my role in this kind of I try to my role in this kind of situation is to give to these organizations the best perspective possible around how to start to work with the people, because individuals and organizations have different necessities. So an organization as Emergo, for example, have agendas and priorities, and people have other priorities and necessities. In some point, both parts can start to talk, and in that exercise, we can build better ecosystems. So I think I have the both perspectives in that.
Thank you very much for your insight, Sebastian.
Thank you so much.
Shall we open for a few minutes for a final plenary? I noticed that we're running a little bit over time, but for people who would like to stay, they're very welcome to stay for a few more questions. Is there anything that anybody would like to ask any of our candidates?
Yeah, I would give preference to the last 4 candidates to give them equal opportunities. That's Sebastian, Phil, Lewis or Adrian. So if any questions to those 4, let's have them first, and then afterwards we can still give everybody a chance. I noticed Ubio maybe had some questions in the chat to Phil. I'm not sure if you have find them already answered, Ubio, or if you still would like to address them here.
Yeah, some of them are not answered. I think one of such was when I spoke about who was that? Trying to get the names out here. That's where the problem is. Okay, but let me start with the names are just very hard for me. Okay, Phil. Okay, yeah, so Phil talked about systems as part of the, he's a system engineer. And I talked about the fact that systems are very, very deterministic and trying to simulate the process before we engage. And so when we try to use the same approach in a decentralized system like the Supervisory Council, where we don't know. So systems mostly work when there is a known, and then we try to work on it. But here is decentralized a council where we are moving from an unknown to an unknown, right? So how do you play in your system engineering skill into this, and how does this fit in when you are more into that pragmatic approach and you're more into that whole system approach to solving issues? How will we build a blueprint when we are talking about a non-deterministic system here?
Now, I hope Phil is still here. Otherwise, I guess...
Yeah, there's another question I had for Adrian here. I don't know if Adrian is here.
I'm here, please shoot.
Yeah, so I talked about the Supervisory Council is more of a community governance position than a tech execution position. Your skill speaks more to an executive position and little on governance. Can you speak to your Web3 or probably blockchain governance experience, or how you'll be able to pivot your existing experience into this governance blueprint that we want to build?
One of my ideas was that both the community, the startups, let's say the leadership of Singularity to be on the same page. And at the end of the day, it's like a copywriting issue, because you can transmit an idea, but everybody else, based on their frames of references, they can understand something else. Because we are on new territories right now, you know, it's like uncharted territories. So this is very important, because there can arise some conflicts which could become very big if they are not resolved at the beginning. Let's say if you look, let's say, at a real estate agent, right? I'm more like a poet in the real estate business, you know. So somehow I've transformed myself into a doer. So it's easier for me to preach on theory than to do the practice. So I'm looking at things from this perspective. So I'm aware that it's not an execution thing, but it's more like a positioning. It's more like how you frame things. Framing was mentioned a few times. And as said, the ideas, they have to be received the way they are transmitted. This is very important, especially when we are talking about a decentralized community, which is fragmented, as Esther said, and it's a reality, right? So you need to transmit an idea in different layers once you know who are the people in your community, right? Like the ideal member persona, the critical mass of users. So you will be able to transmit the things in a certain way, so the ideas will be received the way you want to be transmitted. I trust that it wasn't too complex, my answer.
No, it's not.
It was the same thing. I have this issue all the time. I transmit some ideas, and the people I'm talking with say, "Oh, but you see, I didn't understand what you wanted to say." So that's why you need to calibrate yourself with the people you are talking to. For yourself is very clear, right? But many conflicts arise from this simple thing. There is no calibration, or there could be a better calibration. And because once you know your audience, you know their fears, what keeps them up at night, the slang they are using, the words they understand very well. So it's very easy to communicate. So it's more like a communication issue, I would say.
Okay, and please, my final question was for Marta. I think Marta was in the other round, but I didn't get to ask the question. So the question was, Marta, your experience is in working in research and in systems that are centralized is both a good thing and a bad thing. Can you dissuade my fear that you won't be bringing in elements of centralization into the Supervisory Council?
Yeah, I answered actually in the chat already with a question that I would need to understand like where this fear comes from, and where this positioning me as a person who is working in centralized systems comes from. I'm not getting this. How this localization of me has happened in your perception. So can you say something more about it?
Yeah, like sorry about that. It's just that for me, most people that work in research and educational systems, most of them are people that work in centralized system. Things have to go in a particular orthodox way, without which they are not very open to. It's like it happens a lot with the academia guys. So most times I might be wrong about you, but again, that is why it's beautiful if you can dissuade my fear. But mostly when we see people that come from the academic angle, most times we always think they approach things academically without and decentralization for us it's has more to it's not just about the academics, it's about the engagement with real people and the fact that we things don't necessarily follow particular patterns most times.
And I think I understand. So you see, like I understand we're in a difficult situation because we are asking for trust, like within a few minutes presentation, yes, and some text online, which is it's a big jump to make, like who do you vote for based on such information? So obviously what you have stereotypes. Yeah? So okay, people, university, like what how does it associate in my mind, which is understandable. Though I would like I really I really strongly disagree that like when people work in research, when they are based in universities, when they do science, this means they are used to working old ways, and my experience with the academic like type of tribes is that those people are quite nomadic and and quite progressive, and basically like mostly most of us like I'm not a tenured professor, I'm not like that I'm fixed for life at one university. So it's basically like you work from one project to another, you move from one country to another. I did my PhD in Poland, I moved to Belgium. I worked first as a voluntary researcher, then I was fundraising for projects. Then I have developed a postgraduate based on my design. I kind of managed to get an agreement from the university to run it, and it has been running for 4 years. So it's called academic entrepreneurship, what I'm mostly doing most of the time, if that's informative enough.
Thank you, Marta. Maybe Stephen, you have your hands up and you've been quite active in the chat as well. So looking forward to your question.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. I mean, it's not directed at anyone, more of a general question for candidates, which, by the way, has been a really interesting conversation. And it's great to see a great range of candidates and views. And what I'm interested in, and maybe the remaining candidates here who can answer this, either Adrian, Marta, or Sebastian, is about the scope of the Supervisory Council and subsidiarity. So what decisions or issues should be in the scope of the council and which should be devolved and why? Marta, maybe, and then Adrian?
Yeah, so in my understanding, it's not decisions, it's a design. What is a 6 months task of the council, and then the design is being presented to the community for voting. So I don't read it as a decision-making body.
Thank you. And Adrian, sorry, go.
So I saw it as an interface between the leadership and the community, which is very important. Also, from what I said before, the ideas to be transmitted and received correctly.
It's about communication, a lot of it. Sebastian?
I would like to hear about.
Shall I? Okay, go on.
Okay, it's about. I think it's an experiment. If the history can show us, the recent history can show us something about these decentralized exercises, they tend to work to suffer some kind of accidents in the middle of its occurrence. So maybe I'm agree with my contenders. It's a question of guiding and maybe provide the basic scaffolding for the future, and try to make the best, opening bridges between the people and the system. I don't know. What do you think, Juana?
Yeah, thank you everyone for your answers. It was just
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I could ask Stephen, if you don't mind, one follow-up to Marta. You're saying this is not about this is about a design. not about decision making, but the design should facilitate decision making. And the question is there a limit to the kind of decisions it should facilitate or not? There was a question to you, Marta.
I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't know at this time.
All right.
Yeah. I would love the singularity net structure network to become as boundless as possible as the in result of the blueprint being implemented. And this is my but it's a personal, individual stance and preference. And what this type of bounding of the scope and trimming of the ambitions and so on, I understand that depending on the composition of the body meeting in the room, this is also a process of negotiation. So from me, I will be pushing to the such a composition of the decision making that it will never collapse into not only centralized in a just people in one room make decisions, but also kind of already not growing in terms of not accepting the other because it's too weird, too strange, too different, too big, to not us. So that would be my my stance and what
no predefined boundaries. So I think it's a very hard question that Stephen asked. I also don't have an immediate answer for that. I think it's something that needs to be explored, and not just for this 6 months, but probably forever. But very good question, Stephen. Thank you, and very good answer, Marta and others as well. We're running over time, but I think we're now all on. Anybody can jump whenever they want. I'm not sure if all this will end up in the video that we will be creating and publishing. But I have no problem putting a little bit more time into this. Gavriel, you have your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Just on that last topic there, there's a 1970s cassette program called Managing Management Time by Bill Onken. It was still to date the best business time management system I've ever seen. And I think Ken Blanchard talks about it in his books of the 1 Minute Manager and this kind of series. And they have an insurance policy process. So people who currently have control, they will give a certain amount of freedom to people that are in their area. And then those people earn more trust over time so that the power of decentralization increases over time based on the reputation or the trust that happens in the system. I think, again, that's something that I see is missing in the Web3 DAO communities that are trying to do everything at once. And that's why we get into this polarity between let's decentralize everything and, well, what about control and risks? There's definitely a middle ground, but that middle ground is a journey. It doesn't have to be a one-off event. So again, reputation, merit, giving people opportunity, performance, these kind of things are important because at the end of the day, the organizations have a purpose, we have a goal to achieve, and so we do have to be very careful of how we curate enablement to mitigate risk. Thanks.
Then I would suggest maybe with this wonderful comment to call it a day. Before I give word to you, Esther, I would also personally like to thank everybody being here. I know 3 minutes doesn't do you justice. I also want to invite everybody to go to our portal and to our website where there's more information to be found at your leisure about each of these wonderful candidates. I'm absolutely confident that every one of you, including myself, could talk for an hour, but we can't do that. On the other hand, it was great meeting you here. And I do think, having read your profiles, this does add value, and it does give us all just a little bit extra perspective on who you are and what kind of person you are and what you want to contribute. And yeah, I feel myself and as a representative of SingularityNet hugely blessed of having all of you here in this great opportunity. So thank you for that. Esther?
I can't say it better than that. So I'll just say thank you all for coming. Thank you all of our candidates for coming to share your thoughts, and really, as Jan said, you really helped us to get to know you a bit better. There's no substitute for having direct dialogue with people, and you all shone today. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody who came to ask all the questions and came to participate in the discussion. As always, it's been a wonderfully dynamic discussion, both out of the chat and in the chat. So it's been great to see all these tantalizing messages kind of popping up in the side of the screen that I can't always engage with right away, but always manage to have a sneak peek at occasionally. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming to participate. And yes, as Jan said, there's plenty more information on the candidate submissions. Many have put links to videos and papers that they've written as well. So there is plenty there to take a look at. Regarding the schedule, tomorrow we have another session from 9 a.m. UTC to meet the rest of the candidates, and voting begins next Wednesday and remains open for 1 week. Thanks again to everybody for coming this evening.